Good afternoon. My name is Joe Bandel, and I am the last Rosicrucian. Today is going to be kind of a Halloween message, Samhain, however you want to pronounce it. Um, it always kind of baffles me how Halloween, I'll use Halloween as the name, traditionally is considered a lunar festival, but is always celebrated on a solar determined day. In other words, always celebrated on the 31st of October. So, as far as I'm concerned, because of sensitivity with feeling the energies and everything, I think that the day that the the veil between the worlds is thinnest actually occurs after one complete lunar cycle on the full moon after the equinox, which puts it just at yesterday, the 17th of October. That was the full moon. And it was a full lunar cycle. In other words, equinox, there's a full moon right away after that, and then you go for another full cycle to that full moon. That's the one we just had. To me, and how I sense these energies, that is the time when the veil is the thinnest. However, if you take the solar influence going to the 31st, you can kind of have an orb or a window that would say from now until the 31st, the veil is going to be very thin. And things are going to be the way I think what happens when the veil is the thinnest at Halloween or Samhain. It's the opposite of what happens at spring. At spring, energy is bursting forth into the physical world from the astral. At Halloween, the opposite is happening, and everything is leaving the physical world to enter the astral planes. To There's the part that's the harvest, and that falls off, but everything else is going into the seed. It's going into creating a seed. One way of thinking about it is that this energy is forming an egg that will be fertilized and quickened by the new energy, a solar energy that comes in at the winter solstice. I'm just talking out loud there, just the way I'm thinking about it. But I wanted to talk about some things that are kind of general in a way. Uh, Gaia's ascension, the dynamics that are happening. In a couple of my previous videos, I mentioned how the gridlock has broken and the energy is flowing now. And I had some exciting confirmations about that, but also a little bit surprising. Now, to bring out everything that I want to share here is going to be kind of weird. And I can't just straightforward put it out. So please kind of bear with me a little bit. I'm going to try to describe energetically the difference between what I experienced before and what I'm experiencing now, because I think that is reflective of what a lot of people are experiencing. Now, way back in 1991, I crossed the great abyss. I was on a mystical quest trying to go to source, trying to go into the light, and I actually crossed the great abyss and kind of merged with source. And I experienced a polarity shift and then started coming back down to earth, even though I didn't want to. But I found out later I was actually acting as an anchor, trying to anchor that light from source that I had connected to and bring it back down to earth. Long story short, that's just the way it is. And as I was doing that, I was activating astral bodies. After I had activated about three of them or four of them, I was experimenting with these. It was it was basically mental projecting, but uh, it was astral travel. You think about astral travel, well, that's by definition, it's more with the emotional energies. And this was probably with the heart type space because that's where a lot of astral conflicts came in. I just kind of call all of the non-physical planes astral except for the lowest, which is the etheric. But anyway, one of the things I did, and I'm not saying that I was very smart in doing this, but one of the things I did was I tried to probe various uh, mystical or magical institutions. I tried to probe the Golden Dawn, for example, and I got these images of golden armor that as you progressively worked through the Golden Dawn, you would be receiving in the astral planes, you would be receiving a breastplate or a helmet or something like that. And so I was actually able to perceive the egregore, if you is what I call it. And one of the egregores that I explored was Aleister Crowley's OTO. And what it ended up being was, if you're familiar with the Kabbalah and the diagram with the 10 Sephiroth and everything, the OTO egregore of Crowley that I perceived was purely a straight pillar. There was the middle pillar that went from the highest down to the lowest, and one side of it was white and the other side was black. In other words, it was all in the middle, and the white and black could not merge. That's why Crowley kind of said, well, he wanted to be the most holy man in the world. He wanted to be the most evil man in the world because he could not merge, he could not integrate the light and the dark. And his influence over the Kabbalah, the Holy Kabbalah, as you say, I believe that's what has been represented as the old egregore that the world has been following pretty much. Except for now, there's a new egregore that's come in. And somehow I perceive it to be what I call oak. But it let's kind of just stop that a little bit. And I'm going to say oak to me is symbolized by a figure of a man and a woman side by side looking forward in the same direction, and they're holding hands. and they're enclosed in a circle. In other words, there's a merging of the male and the female. There's a union, a sacred union of the male and the female. It's not sitting side by side where they can't merge together. It was holding hands. And that's what I believe that the new energy system is. Now, the last couple meditations that I have done kind of have dealt with some of these issues, and I've talked about it a little bit. But recently I changed. I was trying to do an oak energy ball meditation where you basically take a, a ball of spiritual light and you bring it down to all of the chakra centers, activating all of the chakra centers, bringing it down deep into the Gaia's core, and then filling Gaia up until Gaia's energy floats on top and goes back up and connects with Source, was how my original energy balls meditations kind of worked. Well, about a month ago, instead of forming an energy ball out of spiritual light reaching up into the light of Source, I changed it a little bit to life force. And life force in the natural world is male and female. And basically what happens is that the female life force is concentrated in the egg or ovum, and it is at the very bottom of the etheric astral planes at the Akashic level is where the female egg or ovum is. And the male principle of the vital life force is solar energy, but it's also sperm energy. And the task is ultimately to create your physical, to create your soul body, to create astral bodies and everything, is for this solar sperm energy to come down to the womb, to the core of creation, to that egg, and fertilize that egg so that life can come, so that we can be reborn. If you're kind of following what I'm going on here, is that it's actually, that is the energy dynamic that we're looking at. This also was kind of like the Druids. They would talk about how the earth and the sky come together and they meet at the heart. Well, what I'm doing is bringing the sky, if you will, the male solar energy or sperm energy, down completely to the womb of creation, to the core, to the as deep as it can go, to where the egg is, the ovum is, and then continually bringing that energy down until it rises and rises and rises up as high as it, bringing life with it. So that's what my recent meditations have been experimenting with. And what's happening is they've really been pretty different. For one thing, it's a totally different energy, and when you do the energy ball meditation with vital life force or this masculine male sperm type energy or whatever, and you're bringing it down through all these chakra centers, there's a barrier, there's a resistance, just like in life, where a sperm tries to penetrate the ovum and it's resisted, but it persists and it will eventually penetrate. And that's kind of what I find happening as you work down through the various chakra centers until you get to the core of Earth, to the Gaia's womb, the womb of creation at the Akashic level space. So anyway, I've been working these experimental meditations, and the last one I did kind of cleaned it up, but these are long meditations. And what happened was, if you have noticed the last meditation, I finished it. It was basically where you would go down through and energize all of the chakra centers in a group setting where you're helping each other to fire up the chakras, merge that energy together, and share it and use it. So what happens is that energy becomes almost tangible. It's it is substantial, as opposed to where working with maybe the spiritual light. It's it's more like in your head. But anyway, so all of a sudden these meditations are getting more rich, more profound, and substantial. And I'm like, this is wild. This is crazy. This is good. Then at at the end of the third one, the last one that I've done, I added in a part where it's not recorded, but I just do it, which is the body of light exercise, which is basically where you bring the energy into the toes and into the balls of the feet, into the ankles and up the legs, and you go through the entire body. Except that I would also go through, I'd mention each organ, and like my leg, I'd mention the blood vessels in my leg because I have some circulatory issues uh, on one of my legs, and my hips, mentioning especially because I'm trying to get some healing in this. But that makes for a long meditation. But I want to just share that I've thought about shortening these things up, but in today's world, one of the most important things that we need to do is make sure that we are activating as many chakra centers as we can. In other words, I could make this a shorter meditation, but in doing that, you're not activating each chakra. You're not generating energy. You're not practicing the generation of energy from each chakra. And I'm thinking that ultimately we need to do that, especially in the world that we're living in today. And also, that body of light where you're just going in and you're uh, like visualizing the spleen, or visualizing the pancreas and the liver, or things like that, and just kind of, or even your ankle or something, and while you're in a altered state with all this, bringing in this healing energy, visualizing a part of the body and actually moving it a little bit. So you're actually doing the deep, deep healing that's where you can actually move, like maybe move around and feel the muscles in the lower back or the shoulders or whatever. You're actually not just sitting there like a board. You're actually moving and meditating, but also working with energy in an altered state. I mean, it's a really cool thing to do. But anyway, so my current practice, that last meditation, and I add on the body of light meditation, and then at the end, I just connect. I try to connect with God and Goddess, and thank my spirit guides, helpers, things like that. But this is this is what happened. I was thanking the God and Goddess, and I realized they're both one. I couldn't distinguish between one or the other. They, I could sense that they had joined together, and they had joined together at the lowest etheric level, when where that male energy met that female energy and fertilized that ovum or egg, and that's where source was in this meditation, the way that I was doing it, because my meditations always ended up down at the bottom with the connection that was at the top as well. So as I was connecting to God and Goddess, it was like there was no separation. And that was profound. Because if you think about like the Crowley egregore, it was the middle pillar, but there was a white and a black, and they would not meet. And here I'm at the same space, the same spot in a meditation, and they are joined. You can't distinguish them. And then what I did was I tried to merge with them, and I tried to say, like, embrace me, take me in, embrace me. And they did. It was just the most wonderful, the most beautiful meditation of just having loving arms wrapped around you and just held. And I was like, this is good stuff. This is good stuff, because it's unity at a totally unique level that I had never heard of before, and I just kind of stumbled upon it by doing these variations of the meditations that I was doing. And I realized, wow, this is good. And at the end of the meditations, when I'm trying to bless and thank, like, the other souls or the entities that have helped be supportive during the meditation, I started ending up with, and I want to bless the world. I want to, it's time for peace in the world. And I could envision my arms just reaching out and grabbing the whole world and just bringing it down to my heart and hugging it. And I could feel that energy out there responding. It was responding. And the love was congealing. It was drawing closer together. And I had never experienced that before. And I was like, wow. That means that, well, if I want to be blunt, planet A and planet B on the ascension thing. The planet that I was on, whichever one that was, planet A or planet B, it was really drawing itself together. It was really forming itself at an accelerated pace. And my meditation, that reaching out and trying to embrace the entire world with filled with love, compassion, healing, peace. It was alive. It was responsive to that. And my meditation was actually helping that. And that is profound. And that's really the reason that I wanted to share this particular meditation as a Halloween meditation or whatever it is. I'm not sharing I'm sharing how my meditation was. This is not a meditation. This is just a video. But I wanted to share that because that is reflective of where we're at. And it's reflective of a timeline coming together. And it's coming together, it's gathering parts from way out, and they're coming together. And that's where Gaia's ascension is currently. And if planet A is doing that, planet B is doing it too. So there's a things are really drawing together, and what was most exciting for me, I guess, was the concept of that I was embracing it with love, with compassion, with peace in my heart, and with goodwill. And it was life, and it was responsive to that. Now, all of the things that I've shared deal with my personal path, they deal with my personal timeline. Each one of you need to deal with your personal timeline, your personal path. And it may be parallel, it may join up, it may be totally different, but that's up to you. I'm trying to share that we are in exciting times because compassion, healing from the heart, it's here. It's right. It's here now. This love. It is here. People are joining together because that is the world that they want to live in. And that's all that I really have to say, but I think that's pretty profound in its own way. So till next week, uh, I wish you well. Thank you.